Hey, I'm Phoneybeetlemaniacxs here with you once again. This is going to be a video out to Hayes. Do subscribe to Hayes, is a good guy. A lot of what I'm going to say here, he may agree with, he may not. Again, if he wants to reply, I welcome that. He can use this footage as he's welcome to do so. And I'm not just agreeing with Coffin because we have similar political beliefs. I just happen to agree with Coughlin on this particular point because there are, as Coughlin and you say, and I'm going to get into in a minute, there are people who use particular type of language to try and control people into their particular side. Anyway, let's continue.
Posted on his Twitter account the following tweet. Words that no longer have any meaning left whatsoever. Sexist, racist, bigot, white supremacist, Nazi. The future is fucked.
And Chris is right. I've been saying this ad nauseum for a while on this channel now, as any of the regulars that watch me will know.
Now,
We had this discussion last time, and I think we still agree that, yeah, there are people who throw this out, but there are still people that these labels apply to, who go under the radar by, as Coughlin says here, co-opting the language. Now, I don't say that people who all people who endorse this language do this, but I'm saying that a lot of these people, use this type of language. And it happens both sides. Again, I'm not saying it's just one way. I think it happens both sides, where extremists on both sides of the argument, will use certain language that, like, for example, we and the left use to try and get people who maybe not as extreme as they are to agree to it. Now, I think that's wrong, and I think that we on the left and on the right should try and weed out the bad elements that exist for a better conversation, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, let's continue.
When a white person says something about black people, it's racist. When a black person says the exact same thing about white people, it's not racist. Because, well, they just have a different definition, or it just means something different to them. I mean, this is just absolutely fucking silly. It's ridiculous. I mean, let me just give this example. If I go into a restaurant and the waitress comes up and says, "Hi, what can I get for you?" And I say, "Oh, I would like a salad." "Okay, sure thing, coming right up." So I wait, and I get a salad. You know what? We all know what a salad would be. Lettuce, croutons, some ranch dressing, or whatever dressing you want. All that stuff. The standard definition of a salad. I look at it and I say, no, you didn't. This isn't a salad. I didn't ask for this. This is not a salad. She looks, "Well, what do you mean?" No. To me, what I consider a salad is ground beef formed into a patty, placed in a sesame seed bun. See, I have different views on what constitutes something being a salad.
or maybe
Again, I think most people on the left, and I don't like being spokespeople for people on the left, but I'm going to be at this moment, don't condone racism on any side. And I don't like you to cite me where we've condoned racism when it comes from black people. I don't think that you'll ever find it. I mean, if you want to, please provide me the evidence, I'll look at it, but I've never seen that, please. I mean, I'd love to see that if you could please provide that for me.
mean that maybe you have misread or misunderstood something that you've said. Now, I don't wish to be patronising here. This is not a case of you're too stupid to know what you're saying. This is something that we all have to be aware of. This is something that not many people are aware of.
I might be wrong here, and if I am, someone correct me, but what you just described there and the words that you're using to describe what Chris did, it sounds like you're essentially saying that he committed a microaggression.
No, that's not what he's saying at all. I think what Coffin's saying, and again, I don't wish to speak for him, but I think what he's talking about is that sometimes when we respond to something or we report something, we've misunderstood the article, or we misunderstood what the article is actually really saying, because maybe we've just read like the first few sentences, or we've just read the headline, and we're not unsure of who like somebody is, especially if it comes from a society we're not really familiar with. Like, for example, some people in America will report something like, let's say, Katie Hopkins, or I'm trying to think of somebody else, or a Richard Littlejohn says, because they're unfamiliar with these particular people. They don't know their backgrounds and what they've done in our society, and especially Britain. As I'm sure that if somebody from Britain was to report like something like Bill O'Reilly or, Sean Hannity or something like that, or Alex Jones, even if we were to a real extreme example, some people would be unfamiliar with these people and what they actually stand for.
In a way that isn't some sort of convoluted bullshit or changing the definition of a fucking word. I would love for someone to do that.
Let's not pretend, Chris, for 1 minute that this declaration that you've made is not kind of centered around yourself. I've got a funny feeling that the reason you think that those words have been rendered meaningless is because those are things that you probably get called quite a lot.
Oh, he absolutely has. As does anyone that criticizes feminism or social justice in 2017. That's just how it is. Because anyone that does that, they're the racist, sexist, misogynistic, all the buzzwords, all that fucking shit. That's simply how it is. But the reason, right now, that this is happening to Chris, the only reason, is because he's dating Lacey Green.
Absolutely, I think that I'm not familiar with Chris Raygun, so if people want to point me to videos that I can watch and make my own judgment, I'll actually do so. But I do think Coffin's got a point though that and so do you that again people do throw these terms around, but I don't think it's necessarily because of Lacey Green. I think that's gotten more attention that more people on upper echelon know who the hell he is, because I think before this he was under the radar, should we say. I'm not going to say he was undersold or whatever. I don't know how talented a female filmmaker he was. But it has gotten him attention, and that usually brings a certain type of audience, especially if you're tied to a specific person who has a reputation in YouTube. But I'd say that maybe this, and I'm going to throw this at you, Hayes. Maybe he said stuff and done stuff before that as Coffin's going to say later on, has been used by racists. I'm not saying that Chris Raygun himself is racist. I'm saying that maybe he's used rhetoric that comes straight from, a racist publication, because sometimes you don't really research where something comes from. You said it before, we all make errors when it comes to doing our research, and we don't really research where a particular saying or a particular thing comes from. We just use it because we think, alright, that put the nail on the head, but when you always point out to you, it comes from this particular, newsletter, publication, person, whatever, and you learn what that person's politics are, maybe you would be not as quick to use their rhetoric in future.
A misogynist, just to insult them. There doesn't have to be any truth to it. You don't have to be a racist. You don't have to be a sexist. But we're just going to use this as an insult. And you want to know why somebody like Chris Raygun or myself might sit back and say how the terms racist, sexist, and misogynist are meaningless now because they're being equated to terms like SJW, mangina, and cuck, and somehow you're making a disconnect there?
I don't think that's what he's saying. He's saying that they're used in the same way, which is to disrupt a conversation in progress, to stop an argument in progress. When somebody's losing an argument, and I made this point to you in our chat with me and you, Sarah Hon, it's used in the same way that it's used to derail. Now, I'm not going to say they're similar. I don't think they're similar in that racist and homophobe and particular things are used to describe somebody's bigoted worldview. I don't think, and I agree, and I actually think I agreed with you, chat, and I agree with you here that they shouldn't be used that way. But online, they're used in a specific way, which is, what's the button push I can push on that particular side of the argument that is going to upset you the most? For one side of the argument, it's racist, sexist, misogynist. On the other side, it's mangina, white knight, cook, because I know that's going to get a particular bad reaction out of you. No, I'm not saying, they're both the same. I'm saying they're used in both the same way for the exact same purpose. And that's derailing the conversation. And I think you must agree with that is the purpose, and I think that's what Coffin's getting at. I'm not saying that he's in any way saying, they're both the same. He's saying that, no, they're used in the same way for the exact same purpose.
And it refers to when somebody is saying something in order as a sort of nod and a wink to a certain group without actually fully coming out and saying it.
I have heard the term dog whistling, and I don't really hold it in very high regard. I think there are times, and Coughlin will name some, where it could very well be appropriate, but more often than not, I've seen it used as some way to equate someone who said something that isn't racist, and then digging through and trying to find how something they said sounded similar to someone who was probably a racist, therefore that person's a racist too.
But I don't think that's what Coughlin's saying. I don't think... Again, I don't like to speak for the man. But I think what he is saying is that certain times people use certain phrases, as he says, and you say that it's bullshit. Well, again, maybe that person's unaware of it. And I don't think that people should go straight for racist in 2017 to somebody. I don't believe that, because sometimes we can not do our research properly and just... You use some phrase because we think, oh, that sounds good. We've looked it up on Facebook, or we've looked it up on like somebody's video and they've put it forward, and we don't really research into that person or how somebody's using particular rhetoric. We just think, oh, that sounds right, I'll use that, and then someone points that out. Yeah, that's a little bit racist or whatever. And I think we should all take that into account and be corrected, and maybe look at it as a way to research better in the future. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I do agree with you that it is wrong to go to racist immediately unless that person has a background of doing this.
Said, if you desire a colored for a neighbor, vote Labour. If you are already burdened with one vote Tory. And then we go into another Tommy Robinson tweet that was, he said he was skeptical about Maswell Hill. He had a pic of Muhammad with a bomb turban spray painting EDL on a mosque, implying that it was some inside job. And that was compared to some Nazi propaganda of comparing the same picture that he used, except it had a Jewish person spray painting a swastika on a Jewish temple. So there was that, and for those examples, that could very well be accurate ones of dog whistling when it comes to Katie Hopkins and Tommy Robinson and all this stuff that's going on from your government. Don't particularly know. And I'm not super familiar with UK politics, to be quite honest, but the examples that you gave there, ultimately, yeah, those people don't know them enough. Don't know. They may very well be racist. Although the one commonality that it has here is, like the first one. We have Katie Hopkins is basically talking about, an Islamic terror attack, and Tommy Robinson also pretty much talking about using that line about Islam. And the difference is, okay, they're comparing Islam to what the not... this is just such a convoluted mess, but one thing when we're talking about today, all this stuff in the past, like the past stuff, it referred to racism against black people, anti-Semitism against Jews, and the Holocaust, what happened to the Jews in the Holocaust, where now it's Islam, Islam, and Islam, and they seem to be the oppressed, according to a lot of people. And I'm just going to throw this out there about Islam right now. There's a difference between it's not racism against Islam or Muslims, I don't think, at this point, especially now where we're at a point where on a weekly basis, when people are getting blown up, stabbed, and run over somewhere by people screaming Allah Akbar, there's a problem with the ideology. It is.
Okay, first of all, the Islamic ideology isn't the problem. It's extreme idiots that are the problem. Now, you can point to any point in history and you're going to get extremist idiots as the problem. Because in the 1920s to 30s it was the suffragette movement. In the 1960s to 90s it was the IRA in Britain, basically. And that's the problem now, is that, like, when people feel their asses against the wall, they will react violently. And I can understand why somebody can get seduced by people on the extreme end. But again, Islam is not the problem. It's because, again, I can assure you, as somebody who lived through this, and I'm going to point out that I live in Manchester, which just got hit by a massive bunch, which I'm sure you're aware of. And the Muslim community of Manchester came out, because the Muslim community of Manchester is massive. It's not it's not as big as Birmingham's, but it's still quite a substantial there. And they came out in droves, offering free rides, offering protection. They came out to say that we do not condone this and we actually fight against this. And I think the problem is that news doesn't report that. It doesn't report what I just said, which is very easy to say if you look at it. Now, the problem is that the people who depict Muslims in the way that Tommy Robinson does are racists. We've seen them do Nazi salutes. We've seen them, say stuff about Muslims and attack mosques and attack Muslim people in the streets, which if their point was valid, if their point of Islam is this, that, and the other, they shouldn't need to do violence, should they? And that's the point that I think that we need to raise with them. Anyway, back to your point.
Now I know, but point being, the problem would be Islamic terrorism. This shit is coming from a particular ideology where its holy book is encouraging it and saying that they're going to go to heaven for killing infidels, and a lot of them take it seriously. Now, not most of them, obviously. I think it was a video that Shuan did recently where she said if it was all Muslims, we'd all be fucking dead. Which is true. It isn't all of them, but it's significant enough to where on a weekly basis at this point, again, people are getting stabbed, ran over, and blown up. So, there's a difference between someone who doesn't want a neighbor because of a particular skin color and someone who might be leery of a neighbor because they have an ideology that tells them, you should kill me because I don't follow your faith.
But the problem is with that is that any depiction of Muslim is always somebody from the Middle East. A brown person. It's never a white person. It's never a black person. I can think of black Muslims right now. Muhammad Ali being probably top of my list. White Muslims, people in Kosovo, for example, and Adam Dean and people like that. There are people. I mean, the most populous Muslim countries are like Malaysia, Indonesia. They're not pictured as like your stereotypical Muslim. There's always some guy in a headdress and stuff like that, and these depictions are racist. What they are, racist as hell, because the thing is that it's like having a black man be a Christian. It's because he looks different than me, therefore I can be afraid of him. Because it's more difficult than facing the truth that a white man might be a Christian, or a white man might be, a Muslim and stuff like that. And that's the problem that these people have. They want to drive that agenda forward. Now, you talk about the Muslim ideology, but the Muslim ideology, in the most part, says not to kill non-combatants. Now, as far as I'm aware, and please correct me, most people in these countries that these psychopaths have been killing are non-combatants. So they're going against the very tenets of their faith in killing people. And that's what their faith says. Now, I'm not saying that these people are Muslim, I'm to say that they're extremely nutball bad people. And you get that through every religion, every politics, every whatever you want to throw at me. You're going to get that, because unfortunately you get that in society, because some people are just bad people.
Made up of these horrible right-wing fucking extremists.
What I'm gathering from this is that racists are hijacking words and phrases and even the language to get people to support their cause, even if they don't know they're supporting that cause. So when someone gets a large audience, they won't accept or realize that their audience consists of these racist, or as you described them, the horrible right-wing extremists. And to an extent, I think you have a point in that I'll get to in a little bit. But this works, I think, absolutely both ways. Now, you use this analogy and say that one of the reasons why people say racist and bigot all over and over again is because they're seemingly noticing this. They're noticing this trend of people who are saying things that racists said, so therefore they're supporting racists, even if they're doing it unknowingly or subconsciously somehow. This is starting to really sound like a little bit voodoo-ish to me. It is kind of sounding a little nuts. Now, granted, I understand the examples you provided, and I do think that you have some merit, but what you're completely overlooking is that this works both ways.
I 100% agree. It does work both ways, and there are certain individuals. Sorry, I had a cough. Who use terminology as used by the left in her propaganda. Namely, she'll use terms in her propaganda against video games, which I hate. As somebody who plays video games, loves video games, I hate the fact she uses this terminology. I think that I'm going to point out this game used by flaming the Hitman game, or the the Far Cry game, or whatever game it is, and use the words like regressive and terminology, and I'm going to point at people who on the left side who use that language as correctly. I'm going to use that to try and play me so that I could get video games to be like I want. It's just like, you probably never played a video game in your life, Anita. Don't lie to us.
right? Well, I can make the very same argument on the other end, and that's what and a lot of people can. Because right now, look at what, I think it's Evergreen College, where they're trying to say they're trying to kick out white students for a fucking day for some reason, and shit like this. And all of the time, we're getting to hear about white privilege, and let me just get into this. I'm going to just say this straight up front because I don't want there to be any question here. I am not oppressed, and I don't think anybody is oppressed for being white. There isn't a white oppression Olympics that if anyone's sitting out there, there could probably be some extreme cases here and there, like you get a lone white kid who's living in an all-black neighborhood, they're probably going to feel oppression the same way that a lone black kid in an all-white neighborhood might feel the same. There's going to be examples like that acknowledged. But as a whole, white people are not oppressed. The only oppression, the only bigoted comments against white people are coming from the fucking radical left, consistently. And it's being blatantly ignored. Words and definitions are being absolutely changed. Words that have meaning, like racist, we're now going to change the definition to power plus privilege. And therefore, when we say something about white people that if they said that about us, that would be universally frowned upon. If it was a politician, they'd be nixed in a heartbeat. If it was a famous fucking celebrity, they would be kicked off. Their sponsors would leave them. But if we say that about white people, perfectly fine. And it's coming from the fucking lunatic fringe left. Not trying to talk about Dean Ambrose here, but goddamn, that's just the first thing that came to my mind. The lunatic fringe left. They do exist. And at this point, and for the last few years, when I see what they're fucking doing, they're more of a threat to the right, in my opinion.
And I would agree. I mean, there are people on the lunatic fringe left, as you called it, that do use and act a certain ways that I disagree with 100%. And it does go both ways. And I think that more people on the left side, and I'm talking to somebody who is very left, acknowledge that and try and weed that out. But again, the thing is that I'm not part of this extreme left, and therefore, I'm not a socialist justice warrior. Therefore, I reject the term socialist justice warrior if it used in connotation or directed at me. I'm somebody who's just I'm just very left. But there is people out there who do corrupt terms, and the fact that they called racist is bad. I don't agree with you, as I said before. But sometimes, as I said, they can inevitably be using terminology used by certain groups or certain people out there who they're unaware of.
Is you. There are two things you can do. You can either publicly disavow all of these people who have these extreme right-wing views, who have these racist views. You can either disavow them unequivocally.
I know you're addressing this to Chris Raygun, and I have no idea what he's going to do. That's his call. But when it comes to me, I think I've done a fairly good job of disavowing myself from those people. When it comes to Richard Spencer, got a video talking about some of the dumb shit he said, disavowed him. And recently, there was that whole bullshit that was going on with Stephen Colbert, where the group that I would like to refer to as the alt snowflakes were trying to get him banned and banning his advertisers because he said something mean about President Trump. Oh, so sad. And not only that, they pulled out one of the SJW cards and started throwing out the homophobia line to try to get it done. It was absurd. Hell, and recently, I didn't even talk about this in a video yet. I think I did in a stream that I did a few days ago. The fucking Kathy Griffin nonsense. She shouldn't have been fired for that. I mean, if they were going to fire her, she's not talented. That would have been a reason. But apparently, up to that point, she was getting ratings and they had no inclination to fire her. But they did because she put out that tweet with that thing and it traumatized Barron and all the alt snowflakes who generally are hypocrites because they're fucking hypocrites because they're against censorship.
I suppose I've got to talk about that bullshit. I agree with you. Yeah, it was stupid. The thing is that Kathy Griffin, I agree with you, isn't funny. But more than that she isn't funny, she's aggressively not funny. But like, I understand why people got upset with it. Because, your country's history, and I don't want to lecture America about their history, but you've had, how many presidents get assassinated? A few, I'm going to say about 4 or 5. and some on national television. So I think a lot of people, took that as a threat. No, I'm not saying that it was a legitimate one. It was stupid and it's so dumb that she did. But I mean, I don't think she should have been banned for it. I think people should have said, "Hey, can you apologise for that? That was rather dumb of you." I mean, apparently we're past the thing where just owning a dumb mistake is done now. Apparently that I missed a meeting where that was no longer done. It was dumb. People should get over it. People do dumb things
when they're getting censored, but will love to censor the left. Much like someone like on the left, where this like Steve Shives, who is all about censorship, who's admitted to it. He wants that, and this is where it comes into play on your end. That if you want fucking Chris Raygun or anybody else to disavow the right-wing extremists and the racist on that side, then it's only fair that you yourself, Coughlin, disavow the left-wing extremist and the racist on that side. Now, I understand maybe you don't believe maybe you believe in that fucking power plus privilege nonsense. If you're on board with that bullshit and you want to sit around and apologize for being white all day, more power to.
But power plus privilege isn't bullshit. It's actually something that actually affects us every day, because, and I'm not saying that this is a white thing. This is a business thing, because you look at, for example, the lobbies in America, and I'm going to speak to this because this is probably something you know about. But you look, for example, at the way that your healthcare system works. And again, I don't want to lecture an American on your health system. I'm sure you know how it works better than I do. But if you look at it, you've got people who lobby for example, the pharmaceutical part, so they can charge whatever they want. Things here have to be regulated because it's part of national health. You can't be traded a certain amount. If you're on a pension or something like that, you don't have to pay. If you're on a working adult, you have to pay, and that's not the case in America. You have to go into your savings to pay for this crap. That's number one. Number two, the thing is that people in your country have an agenda of trying to protect their bottom line. So, for example, and again, we're to go to your healthcare system, and I know this is a sore point for some Americans, or hopefully it isn't with you, that the thing is that the way your healthcare system is that it's a for-profit business, and as a they have a fiscal responsibility, and I think it's a moral responsibility where they have to make a profit for their shareholders. That is their main. It's not to provide care. It's not to provide a service that they contract they're supposed to do for people. It's to make a profit for their shareholders. I do not blame the people who do what they have to do to make a living. I really don't. What I'm against is this denial that privilege does exist in that sort of way, that these billionaires don't have a vested interest in making sure that places like Obamacare or Medicaid or, God forbid, a universal healthcare don't go through it, because their bottom line would be fucked. Because you guarantee, as soon as the universal healthcare system goes in America, the insurance business goes like that, and how many billions of dollars have got? That's privilege for you, because they're in a to affect policy and affect the people, the congressman or whoever's bottom line, and that's why it's so appalling that this is the case, and that's privilege for you, when you're in a position to affect change on a political level by shining somebody's pockets. That is privilege. It has nothing to do with race. It has all to do with finance. So no, it's not bullshit, but it has nothing to do with race.
Yeah, but if you actually fucking give a shit about racism and equality, which means everyone, including white people, including us horrible straight white men, we're all equal, and that this whole race and gender thing is nonsense, and what ultimately matters is the ideas that a person is putting out there, and sometimes really dumb, stupid, retarded, idiotic, and dangerous ideas can come from women, they can come from black people, they can come from gay people, they can come from trans people, because being any of those things does not make a person immune to being fucking stupid. Neither does being on the left. And at times, being on the left, depending on how far to the left you go, that could be a huge, absolutely disgusting fucking detriment. Because of, well, people like Shives and, hell, look at Tariq Nashad. So, I would say to you, if you are sincere, then disavow the left-wing extremist and the racist on that side.
As somebody who is a left-wing extremist, I totally disavow people who use terms like racist and misogynist about the people it doesn't apply to. Because I think that's wrong. I think it's wrong to morally, because as you said yourself earlier in the video, these terms have put terminology, and rightly so, terms like homophobe shouldn't be thrown around willy-nilly. I don't think that terms like racist definitely shouldn't. Because we see racist in a particular view. And I agree with you there. However, I'm going to ask you to apologise for this. I'm very left wing. I'm what most people consider experience, because I believe in socialism. I believe it's that the politics, for example, of Jeremy Corbyn and Bernie Sanders. Well, it's more Jeremy Corbyn than Bernie Sanders, but hey, that's just me. And first time in politics, I thought somebody actually perverted my views when I voted for Jeremy Corbyn. Yes, people out there, I voted for Jeremy Corbyn. Now the thing is that I will disavow people who use stupid, dumb shit, but I want to go to this. Not everybody who's on the extreme left is like that. I'm certainly not.
Or, on top of that, you can think more carefully about the language you use. Now, whenever I say this, I always get people who sit here and go, oh, so we have to change the way we talk just because all these racists and bigots are talking like it. No, you don't have to change the way you talk at all. But if you are going to talk like these people, they are going to latch onto you. This is what they do. And I've already shown you, I've already given you proof in this video that this is what they want. And I've already shown you that that is what is happening right now. The BNP 2005 manifesto is the fucking Tory manifesto of 2017. These ideas have been latched on and are winning.
One of the primary reasons that I believe that the conservative parties have gained the popularity that they did recently in both the UK and the United States is their stance on Islam.
The Tory party of 2017 isn't the Tory party of when they used to put racist bullshit out there. They are not anti-Muslim. At least I don't believe so. I don't think they're anti-immigrant. They are to some extent, but they were against the Trump ban and stuff like that. The reason the Tories won here is because people believed, and really believe this, that it was the Labour government who took them into, Tony Blair and Gordon Brown took them into the 2008 Depression. Because of the social and economic policies they put in place. So the alternative to that was the Tories, because the Tories never did that to us. That's what happened here. What happened in America, again, I don't really want to speak to, but I don't think it has anything to do with Islam either. I think it has to do with this. Donald Trump kept on promising that and your unemployment rate was still high under Obama, and this is what he did. He promised to return jobs and I think that's what works, because a lot of people, even if they don't agree with a lot of other things that Donald Trump stands for, agree with that, because a lot of them are maybe losing their jobs to some place in Mexico, or some place in flaming Guatemala or something, I don't know. And he was basically promising to get jobs back and to improve local income needs for a lot of people. Now, he lied his ass off in saying that. And I don't think it was the Muslim ban that did that, because a lot of people in the US protested against him doing that. It was a very unpopular bill, and it wasn't just people on the left, it was people on the right, people of his own party, protested against him. So I think it has more to do with their enterprise about the economy than it has to do with anything else, personally, but that's just me.
Maybe. One of the things you can do, if you don't like it when people call you a racist, or people call you a sexist, or people call you a bigot or a white nationalist, maybe a good idea to start would be to stop talking like one.
If you don't want people to call you an SJW, a regressive, or an Islam apologist, maybe a good idea would be for you to stop talking like one. Congratulations.
Okay, let me get this right in my head. You're saying that he should stop talking like a Muslim apologist. When did he ever speak like a Muslim apologist? I think what he's trying to say is that we should treat people with the respect we want to be treated with. That there are groups that we belong to that do crazy shit, and that we don't hold them accountable. We're not holding account for their crazy bullshit, and that we should be treated the same way. And it's the reason it's up now because Muslims are just as a group. It's all right to hate now. Back, as I said, if you go back, there's always been a group that it's been okay to hate. Several years ago, centuries ago, it was gays, then it was women. We're going to try to get the vote because we don't want those pesky women to have the right to vote. You put it in, and there's always extremist elements in those particular groups. And I think the thing is, I don't think he's speaking like a aggressive or other stuff. The thing is that what he's saying is we should all be careful of the language you use and making sure we know is exactly using it exactly for what purpose, and we should try and stay around that language. I think that's what he said, and I think that's something that we should all do. I'm not saying this is something that the left should do or the right should do. I'm saying that both sides should do this, because I certainly do not want to be using the rhetoric as used by an Sarkeesian or anybody on the extreme left. I don't think SJW left. I'm not going to call it extremist left. I certainly do not want to be using, thrown in with the hyper left wing. Nor do I want to use rhetoric that has been used by the hyper right wing. The thing is that while yes, I'm very socialist, I'm also somebody who actually has a brain and knows that associating me with stuff that people on the extreme left or the extreme right has used is going to get me, whether I like it or not, put into that. And that's all Coughlin is making. That we all have to be careful with the terminology we use because it affects how people see us in the future. And it's bottom of all three, Phoneybeetlemaniacxs actually. See, 4 dreams make a true.